Hi, Rush Nation. Welcome to the 5 Yard Rush DFS Show. My name is Jack Humphrey. You can find me on X at JH4Do Media. Yeah, this is a honor. I've obviously appeared on a few 5 Yard Rush flagship shows over the years. And yeah, now I'm leading the DFS show, which is just a huge honor for me. Murph reached out to me the other week, and we both thought it was about time that I got back involved in podcasting and doing what I love to do, which is daily fantasy. I'll give you a brief insight into how I got involved into daily fantasy in a bit, and like why I love it so much, why it's my favorite form of fantasy football. And yeah, I'll give you like a rundown of basically the show today and what's going to be happening going forward. So yeah, going forward, there's obviously going to be a couple of us doing the shows. I will be a regular on there. I will be every week, hopefully. Um, but yeah, it's obviously quite hard to do a show on your own, which I'm going to try and power through as much as I can today. But hopefully, going forward, there'll be a couple of us doing it each week, and we'll be covering Fantasy Game Day and Fan Team. Um, Obviously, the DFS landscape has changed massively in the last year with DraftKings pulling out of the UK, which is just very unfortunate. So we've been left with Fantasy Game Day, who are doing a great job. I know a couple of the guys that set Fantasy Game Day up. They're sound guys, and they want what's best for the UK market, which I'm firmly behind them, and that's why a lot of my articles this year have been focused on their site and their site alone. But we will be covering Fan Team as well. Obviously, I know a few of the guys that work for Fan Team as well, so I like both formats. I like playing both formats myself. So yeah, we will be covering both sites going forward. For today's show, it's going to be a quick look at the London game between the Vikings and the Browns for fantasy game day purposes. And then I'm going to look at the Sunday Stars slate. Going to look at some of my stacking options that I like, captain plays, and value options on the slate. So hopefully help you build some winning lineups and yeah, make some money. So yeah, that's basically the show. What's going to be happening going forward? Me myself, as I mentioned at the top, my name's Jack Humphrey. If you don't know me, you can follow me on X at JH4Do Media. I have a long history in daily fantasy. I've been playing daily fantasy since about 2016, so nearly 10 years now. And I was hooked straight away. Like one of my first hits was literally on my first go round. So I played DraftKings. I was away on a family Christmas holiday. We were down in Cornwall, and the Boxing Day actually fell on a Sunday, so I had the Sunday slate. And I saw a DraftKings advert come up, and I was just like, "Do you know what? I'm going to give this a go." I was playing fantasy football regularly by then anyway. So I was like, well, I can give this a go and see what it's all about. And I was hooked straight away within the 50,000 budget. I entered like a beginners sort of friendly contest on DraftKings. I think that was a $3 entry, and I ended up finishing third, and I won $200. So I was hooked straight away. Unfortunately, there's been some ups and downs along the way. That's what daily fantasy is all about. You're always going to get your ups and the downs, but I'm very thankful. I've hit some GPPs over the years. I've taken down not in NFL, but I took down a football one where I won $10,000. I've hit NFL GPPs. I've hit golf GPPs. I play across multiple sports with daily fantasy. So yeah, it's biggest hits 10,000 to date. Obviously, want to increase that. Which is why it's very important for us to keep filling the contests that we can actually play at the minute on Fantasy Game Day and Fan Team. So yeah, that's my brief sort of history in the daily fantasy space. I love it. Like I say, there's so much strategy. I'm learning every week, like different strategies and different things I want to do. But yeah, I love it. It's my favorite form of fantasy, like I say. So I'm really looking forward. And when Murph gave me the option to jump on and do a DFS show again, I just jumped at the chance. I've obviously had some personal issues in the last year, which I mentioned on the 5 Yard show that I was recently on with Murph. So I'm not going to go over old ground with that, but yeah, like mental health is a big thing for me now. So I think if I will mention that if anyone is struggling, then you need to, like, just reach out to your friends and talk to your friends, etc. So yeah, I won't go over old ground with that, but you can go back and listen to that show. But yes, obviously I've taken a break, a year out from the space, and yeah, the year out has probably done me the world of good, to be fair, because I've come back in with a clearer mind with it and what I like to do and things like that. So yeah, on that note, let's dive in to this London game. So we've got the Vikings at the Browns. The Vikings are favoured in this game. The over under total is 36 points. Yeah, this is a this is going to be a tough watch. I'm quite thankful that I'm not going to this game. The weather looks horrid this weekend in the UK, so I am quite thankful that I'm not going to this game. It will be interesting to see how the Vikings cope, having played in Ireland last week, where they was well and truly beat by the Steelers over in Ireland, and the real Carson Wentz sort of showed up in that game. Um, so it will be interesting to see how they get on, because they'll be much more used to the time zone as such now, having been over here for 2 weeks, whereas the Browns are coming over for a new week. But this Browns defense is elite, while their offense is struggling. And we'll go on to the QB change in a bit. But while the offense is struggling, this defense is elite. Fortunately for us, we don't get the defenses on Fantasy Game Day, so we haven't got to worry about that as such. But yeah, it's an elite defense against a QB who struggled last week, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Vikings rebound in this game. I'm personally favouring a 3-2 Vikings stack. Fantasy Game Day is just 5 players on their showdown slate. So with a captain choice, the captain doesn't cost you any extra. Fantasy Game Day actually reminds me a lot of FanDuel. I don't know, a lot of people used to play that back in the day on Paddy Power. Obviously, you can't play that now, but used to be able to play that on Paddy Power back in the day. It used to be very much the same sort of thing. The captain wouldn't cost you any extra to begin with, and it used to be 5 players. I think the budget is very friendly. I've actually built a team that I love, to be honest, this week for this slate. So I think the budget's very friendly for this slate, but I am favouring myself the 3-2 Viking stacks on this game. So let's get into the captain's picks that I like. Obviously, I'm going to start with the for me, the best wide receiver in football, Justin Jefferson. While the QB play is questionable behind him at the minute, he commands an elite target share in this Vikings offense. And this Browns secondary, while the defense has been elite, it does struggle against man coverage. And Jefferson thrives in quick passing schemes. Let's be honest, Wentz is going to have to get this ball out quick in this game against this Browns front, because his O line is depleted. So Jefferson should be his go-to option. I think Jefferson's going to move around all over the place. I think we're going to see him out wide in the slot, etc. So he's the elite target share alone makes him a great captain option for me in this game. Will be popular, but I'm willing to eat the popularity. And at £6,400, yeah, he's so easy to fit in as a captain option for me. Like I said, the budget is very friendly within this game, and he obviously favours my 3-2 Viking stacks on this game. So yeah, Justin Jefferson for me, number one captain choice. My second choice is a little bit. I think this will make you a little bit different, but it's Crenshaw Junkins, the Viking at 6,200. He's the second most expensive option on the slate, but he's obviously the Browns running back here. The Vikings run D is a absolute funnel at the minute. They're allowing on average 130 yards per game to opposing running. That's rushing yards. Sorry, to opposing running backs. This is Judkins' backfield now. He seems to have taken it over. For me, the Browns would be very wise to lean on him in this game, especially with their rookie QB Dylan Gabriel coming into the game. This is going to be his first start. I think the Browns need to lean on the run game here and like I said, this is where the Vikings are weak, you target the weakness of the Vikings with the run, and with a rookie quarterback under center against a very blitz heavy Vikings defense. I think you lean on the run here with Judkins. So I think it gets you a little bit different. I would still favour the 3-2 Viking stacks. So if I was going to captain him, I'd have another bring back with a Brown player. Maybe I actually managed to fit both quarterbacks in with my lineup, which I did quite like. So there's a spoiler for you there. But if you didn't want him, maybe you go to one of the Browns tight ends, for example, and bring him back, play Judkins as the captain option there. I am personally fading completely all Browns wide receivers in this game. I don't know where the ball's going. I mean, Judy just looks horrid, and to be fair, like this Vikings defense against wide receivers is elite. They shut down opposing wide receivers, so I'm totally fading the Browns wide receivers in this game. This game is very easy for me to build how I want to, like I've said, with the value that's on it. And talking of value plays, let's get into my value plays on the slate that just sort of round out your lineups really. So TJ Hawkinson, probably my favourite value play with on the slate at £3,000. Wentz is likely to lean on short passes in this game due to this Browns defensive front. I've already mentioned it, but he's going to be under so much pressure from Myles Garrett, etc. And with this beat up O-line, I expect Hawkinson to benefit with these short dump off passes, and I expect him to have between 5 to 7 targets in this game. So yeah, TJ Hawkinson is my favourite value option on this slate. If you wanted to get a bit different with the Vikings, I would go with Jalen Naylor at £2,400. He's the wide receiver 3 on the Vikings. He's overtaken Adam Thielen, who looks a shell of his former self. I mean, you can go into why Carolina made that trade. That seems very questionable to me, but that's a different story altogether. But he's clearly not really an option for the Vikings at the minute. So Jalen Naylor is the wide receiver 3 on the Vikings, like I mentioned, especially with Jordan Addison back. For me, though, Naylor's that deep threat ability, and a single play could push him to 4 times his value here. So you're looking for that 60-yard bomb touchdown to Naylor for him to pay off. But he gets you very, very different if you wanted to, and he's the type of person that can take down the slate for you as a value flex piece. If you're going to go to the Brown side of the ball for value, I'm looking at Jerome Ford. I've mentioned already about the Vikings run defense being an absolute funnel. But Ford's been seeing the receiving work in the backfield for the Browns, while Judkins has overtaken him on the actual ground game. In the backfield itself, Ford's been getting the receiving work. If this game gets out of control early, the Browns could lean on him a little bit more. So I do like Jerome Ford as a value piece, and he'll get you a bit different as well. You could probably play both run backs. You could captain Judkins, and in my builds, you could captain Judkins and you could bring Ford back as a flex option. I think that's very viable on this slate. In my 3-2 Vikings builds, like I said, and then my last value piece is Harold Fannin Jr. at £2,600. I mean, for a rookie, he has commanded a consistent target share of at least 4 per game. Again, Dylan Gabriel, rookie quarterback, he may lean on him for short dump offs due to this Vikings heavy blitz pressure defense that they have. So yeah, I like Fannin as an option. He seems to have overtaken Njoku as well for me. Again, I don't mind captaining. I don't mind captaining Judkins and then bringing back Fannin as well. So yeah, I think Fannin could see a lot more work in this game, especially with a rookie quarterback in the game. And for me, he's overtaken Njoku, and I could see the Browns moving on from Njoku very quickly. That's my lean on this game. Hit me up on X if you have a lean on it yourself. I will have an article out for it as well myself, so keep an eye out for that. All my articles can be found over on X. Just look for me on X, and you can see my articles. I pin the latest one every time. So I will have an article up for this game. But yeah, that's it basically. So favourite captain options for me: Jefferson and Judkins, and then obviously I'm going to be bringing quarterbacks. But I will have multiple lineups on game day this week for this slate. I'll probably max out at five lineups. So yeah, I will be mixing it up. But hopefully I've taught you a way that you can get a bit different on this slate, because I think the captain options are very, very easy. Like, easy to predict. You obviously can't captain quarterbacks on fantasy game day, so I think the captain options are very easy to choose from on this slate, and hopefully I've taught you a way that you can get a bit different. I'm going to move on to the Sunday Stars slate in a minute. I'm just going to have a quick drink. As I said, it's quite hard doing a podcast on your own, because it's just you talking to yourself. But so I'm going to move on to the Sunday Stars notes here for me. This is just obviously the main slate where you get your QB, two running backs, two wide receivers, a flex option, tight end, and a captain option, which makes game day a bit different and unique compared to fan team. But as I said, today I'm just going to concentrate on one because it's me on my own. So I'm going to concentrate on the one that I'm writing articles about at the minute, and that's fantasy game day. So the Sunday Star slate for me, the games that I will be stacking, again, I'm going to be entering 5 lineups, but the games I'm going to be stacking are the Washington Commanders versus the LA Chargers. This matchup tops the slate for DFS stacking potential for me due to its high total, over under points of 48.5. And it's an indoor environment here. We get a dome game here, creating ideal conditions for a high scoring affair. I think you can stack this both ways. Like, I think you can go with Justin. I'm a big fan of overstacking on these main slates. So, for example, I would look at stacking Justin Herbert here with Amari Hampton and either Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnson, who looks like the alpha wide receiver one for the Chargers this year. Quentin Johnson, especially in the red zone. So yeah, I like to overstack, and then I'll bring back with 2 Washington Commanders. So I'd probably bring back, I don't know, probably Zach Ertz and maybe one of the wide receivers. I haven't really looked into. There's a lot, obviously Terry McLaurin's out this week, but definitely Zach Ertz would definitely be coming back within my lineup stacking on this game, especially with Jaden Daniels back at quarterback. So yes, this game is probably my favourite game to stack this week. Like I say, it's an indoor environment. It's very friendly for DFS stacking potential. You can stack all over it. If you wanted to get different, I do think that the Chargers side will be the more popular side. So if you wanted to get different, and I'm a big fan of doing this, I mentioned this the other week on another podcast. I'm a big fan of stacking the other side of the same game where the high scoring environment is. So I think you could stack Jaden Daniels with Zach Ertz and one of the wide receivers, like I mentioned, and I think you can bring back with Hampton and Quentin Johnson on the other side. So yeah, I think that would make you very different straight away. But that's probably my favourite game to stack. The other games that I'm looking at stacking are sorry, I've just lost my notes there. They've just gone for some reason. There we go. The New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys. And I know what people are thinking, oh my God, like the Jets. But there is a method behind my madness here. The Jets offense against the Cowboys defense that's last in total yards allowed per game, they are getting absolutely gashed all over. The game offers great stacking environment for both sides of the ball. You could stack Justin Fields with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, or Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor, sorry. Or you could bring it back the other side. You could go Dak, Pickens, Ferguson, Dak, Javonte, Ferguson, or if you wanted to get cheap, there is a value piece I'm going to come to in a minute. Tolbert as well. It's a great stacking environment all over. 2 really bad defenses. I didn't think the Jets were going to be this bad on defense this year, but they are. The only thing I don't like about this game is it's outside, so that can nullify it. So I would check the weather before we get to this game. But I mean, the stacking environment here is amazing all over. So definitely get have a look at that one for me. The other game that I like is the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts. Both teams middling defenses here, and it's a dome game again, like I said, with a 47.5 point over under total. Again, I would favour the Colts side for stacking. I don't like Geno Smith, and Murph made a great point about him the other week. He may have one of them games where he goes for like 300 yards, but it's very rare for him. He's not a very friendly fantasy quarterback. So I would stack the Colts side here. I would go with Daniel Jones, pair him with Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren for me. That's where I like to do it. And if you're going to bring back on the Raiders side, I think you bring back Magenti. And maybe Jacoby Myers. And if you really want to get different, you could play Brock Bowers in the flex, and you have Tyler Warren in your tight end spot. You've got two tight ends. Playing two tight ends each week is very unique as well. That gets you very different on the slate. So yeah, I like that game as well for high scoring environment in a dome, but only like one side of the ball, and that would be the Colts. But I think the Colts will be the popular side of the ball, but for good reason. Daniel Jones has looked pretty decent this year. And again, I don't fear either defense in this spot, so it's a very friendly stacking environment for me. Again, so yeah, they're my favorite stacking options. I'll run down again. So the Washington Commanders versus the LA Chargers, the New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys, and the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Colts. Captain options, again, that's what makes Fantasy Game Day very unique on the Sunday Stars say. You have a captain spot. My favourite captain is Jamal Gibbs at $8,600. Pounds, sorry, dollars. I'm used to DraftKings, but £8,600. He has been one of the hottest backs in football this year, punching 4 total touchdowns across his last 3 games. His explosion has completely flipped the Lions' offense. They look bad in week 1, the Lions, but they've got back to that run game. They're going to lean on the run heavy here against this Bengals team, because this Bengals team can't get anything going on offense. I love Gibbs. Cincinnati has been gashed as well by running backs, allowing the 3rd most touchdowns to the position this season. And it's gotten even worse recently. They've over the last 2 weeks, they've been cooked for 4 touchdowns by opposing running backs. I think it's a smash spot for Gibbs. Very easy option. I think people might see this as a good stacking option again, but I really don't like anything that I'm seeing from Cincinnati on the offense at the minute. So I think I'm happy just to play the one-off piece, and that would be Jamal Gibbs as my captain. Second favorite captain option is actually he's in one of my stack environments that I love, and that's Garrett Wilson. Love Garrett Wilson this week. He has been peppered with volume all season, ranking 3rd in targets across all receivers, and he's got 3 touchdowns to show. Here's where it becomes impossible to ignore this week. The Dallas Cowboys have been the single worst defense in the league against wide receivers. They've given up 9 touchdowns to the position, and they are getting absolutely gashed by wide receiver ones. Justin Fields is back as well, which makes this even better for me. I love Garrett Wilson as well. So those 2 will be my captain options this week. I normally captain CMC. I have been captaining CMC every week just because of his volume. I think Gibbs will be popular as a captain option. So I think Wilson's a way of getting different and a lot cheaper for you as well. But I love both. I'm, again, across my 5 lineups this week, I will be having both as captains for me. Here's the value options on the slate for me. Jackson Dart at quarterback at £4,400. I'm a Giants fan. At last, there's a Giants QB that can run around. It's probably going to get him killed. I actually had an anytime touchdown bet on him last week because I saw his rushing that he'd basically been doing in college. So I thought he'd get into the end zone. He did last week. It's going to get him killed the way he's doing it. But if you want a cheap quarterback option this week, he's a great dart throw. Excuse the pun, but he is a great dart throw at £4,400. Got cheap stacking options as well. So if you want to bring stacking options with him, you can bring Slayton and Robinson. Very cheap, easy to do. And the Saints have allowed the 10th most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks this season. It's a decent matchup for Dart in his second start. So I do like him as value piece at quarterback on a slate where it's quite hard to get value at quarterback. He was definitely my favourite choice and easy option there. Running back Woody Marks. Wow, the breakouts finally happened. £3,600 here. People are going to go, oh, Ravens defense. This Ravens defense has been getting gashed by running backs. They've allowed the league's most fantasy points to opposing running backs on the season so far. As I said, Marks had the breakout game in week 4 where he outpaced Nick Chubb. And Houston would be wise to lean on their run game again here, making Marks an easy standout value option at £3,600 for me. It'd be interesting in that game because obviously Lamar's out as well for the Ravens, so it's going to be interesting to see how close the Ravens can keep that game. But I think Houston would be wise to lean on the run quite a bit, and that makes Marks a very interesting option at that price for me. Favorite wide receiver value again comes within my game stack environment. Jalen Tolbert, £3,000. He's the wide receiver 2 on the Dallas Cowboys at the minute. With CD Lamb out, he's a cheap piece on a very pass heavy Dallas offense. He's underneath routes and separation versus zone cover 3. And that's where the Jets rank high in usage, make him a sneaky sleeper pick for me this week. I like that game as stacking potential. So he's a cheap piece and probably a way for you to get different because Pickens and Ferguson are going to be popular if you're stacking with Dak. So yeah, I do like Jalen Tolbert as a sneaky cheaper option where you could probably get 60 to 70 yards and a touchdown out of him. I think that makes you stand out at that price. And then at tight end, the tight end position has been brutal all season. But if you want to get a bit different this week, it's not pretty. But Mike Evans is still out, and it's K Dotson for me at $2,200 pounds. Sorry. Seattle's defense has given up the second most fantasy points against Titans this season. And Otton's red zone usage and third down role with Baker Mayfield could yield 4 to 6 targets. I'm projecting between 30 to 50 yards and potentially a touchdown in this game against the Seattle Seattle defense that's very poor against Titans. So yeah, I do like K Dotton in that game, especially with Mike Evans out. It's going to be interesting to see how the Bucks fare in that game as well, like against Seattle's very run heavy offense. But I think K Dotton, like I said, I'm projecting him 4 to 6 targets and potentially 30 to 50 yards with a score. And then at that price, that will again get you very different and boost you up the leaderboards. So yeah, that's it for the Sunday Stars. I will run it down again quickly for you. Again, these podcasts are very hard to do on your own, like I said. So hopefully going forward, they're going to be between 40 minutes to an hour long because there'll be 2 of us doing it. So we can have back and forth views. At the minute, you're just getting my views. So, but for the Sunday Stars notes, the games I'm stacking are the Washington Commanders versus the LA Chargers, the New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys, and the Raiders versus the Colts. My captain options on Fantasy Game Day Sunday Stars this week will be Jamar Gibbs at £8,600 and Garrett Wilson at £5,800. My favourite value options on the slate are Jackson Dart at quarterback, Woody Marks at running back, Jalen Tolbert at wide receiver, and K Dotson at tight end. I'll quickly run down again my London game notes. I'm personally favouring the 3 and 2 Viking stacks, like I mentioned. My Fantasy Game Day captain picks will be Justin Jefferson and Quinshon Judkins. And then my value options on the slate are TJ Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor, Jerome Ford, and Harold Fannin Jr. That's it, guys. Like I said, you can find all my work over on X at JH4Do Media. Like I said to you, going forward, I just wanted to get a show out this week for Murph and like get some of my views across for the slates coming up. Going forward, there will be at least 2 of us on this podcast. And we will be covering both DFS sites, not just Fantasy Game Day. It will be covering Fantasy Game Day and Fan Team. So the shows will obviously be a little bit longer and there'll be a bit more back and forth views. But for this week, I just wanted to get you a show out. What's happening with 5 Yard Rush DFS going forward. And yeah, just wanted to get my views across. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. It was short and sweet, but I've covered the London game and the Sunday Stars game. I hope to see you all atop of the leaderboards using some of my advice this week. And yes, keep rushing, Rush Nation. Thanks for having us, guys, and I will see you next week.